they fight, and then to have your best player driving to the rim in a position that he has scored God knows how many times all year.
Doing the thing that Coach Parrish has said you wanted to see him do more of. Be aggressive, go to the basket.
And he loses the ball.
Yep.
And then again, Zach Davis trying to save it. God love him. Just wings the thing.
That's all he could do. He got a hand on it, going out of bounds. There's no time to set your feet.
He's just winging it.
He flung it, and it just went, 5 feet to the side of Jamari Thomas.
How many times you see a guy turn and do that, and it ends up being saved? This time, Zach Davis turns and wings it, and it goes out of bounds. You got guys who are struggling from three, canning threes for Ole Miss. Ole Miss, by the way, could not miss in the first half.
Not at all.
Couldn't miss anything. And they finished the first half, I think, missing 7 shots overall. They shot 65% from the floor. Yeah. They were shooting mid-60s from three.
And a lot of those missed shots came at the very end. They were shooting like an 80% clip for a while.
They were killing it. And it's just, and this is what happens in a year where it's just the basketball gods decide they're going to hate you. And look, I'm not sitting here making excuses. This team is flawed. We're not going to sugarcoat. This team is flawed. From the construction of it to the execution by the players, and no one is blameless. Like Lamont, Elijah and I were talking about it. There are guys that you're not closing out on 3-point shooters who can make threes. You got to get out. I mean, where did you scout this? Now, again, to be fair, maybe the coaching staff said, look, here's the scouting report. Here's the cut-ups. Who are watching this? You got to get out on these guys here. You got to close out on the 3-point line. But you weren't closing out on the 3-point line through almost the entire first half. Now, is that, and then if you're Lamont or in the coaching staff, are you over there going, bleep and close out on somebody, will you? I mean, how much of this goes to just players not executing the game plan or not executing in general, guys who shouldn't be put in the position they're being put in because of limitations, but they have to do more than they really can do, and how much of it is the coaching staff not putting them in the proper position to be successful? It's probably all of it, right?
It's a mix of everything.
Yes.
There is nobody that is blameless in all this, and as we've said many times, Coach Parrish can go out there on the court. His days of playing are over, but he is responsible for putting those guys in position and making sure they are coached up to the point to go out there and execute. But again, they're the ones that steps on the court. They're the ones that dribbles the basketball, passes and shoots and all that kind of stuff, and it's on them. And again, something alters the brain chemistry under 4 minutes after that timeout, and it's like that's where things go wrong.
Yeah, and even when it happens to your best player, who you want the ball in his hands, and you want him to try to make plays, and it happens to him. The disease goes through the locker room. And it's just, and I'm not going to sit here and just, it's one of those years. Hey, don't worry about it. No, you worry about it. This was a bad season. But this is like in life, when you hit a rut in life and you get to the point of if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Yep.
That's where you're at right now with this basketball team. You're trying. You're down double digits. You don't give up, right? You keep going. You take the lead multiple times late in the game. You're going. And then it happens. Whether it's you give up an offensive rebound to a team that typically is terrible at rebounding the basketball on their offensive glass. You have a guy who has struggled shooting threes all year, bangs a huge three at the end of the game.
Turns into Larry Bird all of a sudden.
Yes. I go back to this. Wade Taylor for Texas A&M is a 32% three-point shooter. He went through a streak. I'm going to try to do it off the top of my head. He was like 5 of 30 or something from three. Dude was Steph Curry against South Carolina. It's just when you're having this kind of a year, you're your own enemy. You shoot yourself in the foot. And the other team has guys who just all of a sudden become superstars against you.
Yeah, it's like their get-right game, right?
Yeah.
Like look at Kentucky the other week, beating South Carolina, and then guess what? They go on the road, or they take down Tennessee. It was number 5 the other night. Like, again, if you're having trouble, play Carolina. You'll get straightened out.
Well, it's like in the dating world when you were younger. South Carolina's your slump buster.
Sure.
Make sense?
Yeah.
You know where I'm going?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
South Carolina becomes everybody's slump buster.
Yeah, the good luck Chuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. I mean, it's just this big perfect storm now of everything. And I feel terrible for them. I'm watching these guys, and they're grinding, they're giving effort, and they're gutting it out every night.
They have not given up.
6 games this year came down to the end in the SEC, and they've lost all 6.
Yeah, and look, if you would have won half of those and you're 3-8, I mean, you're at least in consideration, right? It's not great.
Yeah, you're on the bubble.
Yeah,
you're probably on the bubble.
Depending on what 3 wins those are.
Yeah.
Some of them probably would have been quad 1
might
wins.
have pushed you over the bubble,
yeah,
right?
you'd be like, okay, yeah, we're flirting with it. May have to play our way in, but you're at least in the conversation.
Let's say you get Auburn and you get that game against
Arkansas's in the bubble right now.
Yeah, they're in the bubble. And your resume, if you're 3-3 in the league with 3 quad 1 wins against ranked teams, you're probably ahead of Arkansas.
Yeah,
if you could have won 3.
And the SEC is really tough. You get that benefit of the doubt this year.
Absolutely,
to where
you
you're
do.
probably in.
Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. We always talk about the cliches in sports. It's a game of inches and this and that, and a play here and a play there. But for this basketball team in those 6 games, it's true. A play here and a play there. And if the odds of life were fair like they usually are, you got a couple of these. Heck, Tyler, if you're 2-4, and let's say you're 2, you take out Auburn, right? And let's say you pick another
Florida.
ranked team, Florida, another top 5 team.
You had the lead until the very last second.
Let's say you beat Auburn and Florida, 2 top 5 teams in America, and you're 2-4 in the SEC.
In addition to already beating Clemson.
Well, right now you're the ACC champion.
You are. It's nuts.
You beat Clemson. Clemson beat Duke. You're undefeated. You're 3-0 in the ACC. You beat Clemson. Clemson beat Duke. Guess what? South Carolina's best team in the ACC.
Yeah, in a way, because all losses suck. In a way, you'd almost rather see them just get blown out every game. That way you're like, we're just not very good. Continually putting yourself in position, giving people the hope. And for what fans were there last night, again, hanging on the very edge.
There, man.
And then it's the letdown. And I asked Jack this morning, I was like, you're in the CLA. Like, what's the reaction to this team when they walk off the court? Because a lot of fan base, not saying this happens in Carolina necessarily, but a lot of fan bases, when teams playing bad, they'll get booed coming off the court, going into the locker room at halftime, whatever it may be. He's like, well, most people have already left. Right. Like, they see it's going sideways and they just go ahead and leave. So there's nobody there to give them a reaction as they're coming off the court.
And suffering.
And I don't blame them for that, because it's like, all right, and you're probably sitting there in the stands thinking the same thing. Like, okay, it's going good, tie game. Minute and a half to go or whatever. What's going to go wrong this time?
Yeah, and it is. I'm watching that last night, and I'm trying to stay. See, that's the thing. We're all thinking it. And let's be real. We're all thinking it.
Yeah, of course.
Even if you're the most diehard Gamecock fan in the world, it's in your head.
Yeah.
Okay. What's going to happen? What's going to happen this time? Or if you're a diehard, you're going to say this. Okay, it's going to go right this time. But everybody's thinking the same thing somehow, right?
Once is a coincidence. Twice is a trend. We're way past
What's
trend.
6?
I don't know. We're way
6?
past that.
I'm watching that last night going, and I'm just going, please, basketball gods, just give them a W.
Smile down
Come
on
on.
them this one time.
You have squatted on them all year.
And the 12 people there could have stormed the court.
Oh, I know. It would have been great. It would have been. I think Casey and Derek would have stormed the court.
Probably would have.
I mean,
given Paris the Gatorade bath, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, it's just Paris would have gave himself a Gatorade bath. He'd have been so excited, right? You sit there and you feel terrible, and it's this. If you're a Gamecock fan, you feel terrible for them, and you're frustrated with what they're doing. It's like your kids. When your kids, it breaks your heart to watch them fail, but when they fail doing something stupid, you're also frustrated at the same time.
Yes.
You're like, I'm so bummed that you failed, but also I want to crack you upside the head because you just did dumb stuff so you would fail. That's this team. There are things that you missed 12 free throws last night. What'd you lose by again?
4? Yeah.
Yes. You missed 12 free throws. I'm going to tell you right now, if it's me and I'm the head coach, Nick Pringle is still in the gym with the doors locked, still wearing his gear, shooting free throws.
But don't you think he's already been doing that at some point this year?
I don't know. I mean,
that's the agonizing part, because we can say, well, you need to focus on shooting free throws and all this kind of stuff.
Keep making him shoot them.
Because we know they're doing this in practice.
Yes.
Like, Coach Pierce is not dumb. He does not get to this point for no reason. Like, he knows what problems they're working on passing the ball. They're working on limiting turnovers. They're working on blocks. All these kind of things I know they're doing in practice, but for some reason, and look, Pringle may be hitting every free throw imaginable in the gym in practice, Monday through Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever, and then getting in the game and missing it. And again, there's a correlation. There's a problem here, and we can't figure it out.
It is, and it is. You know that every team. I've ever played with in my life shoots free throws in practice. Like you get to the
basics.
point where you go like this. Oh, free throw shooting again. Because again, it's monotonous, it's tedious, but everyone does it, and every
fundamentals.
Every team has a different thing. Like, there are teams that you got to make X amount of free throws, and if you don't, everybody's got to run.
Yep.
You'll go up there and shoot free throws, and everybody will stand in front of you, waving and doing crazy stuff, right?
Yep.
Everybody's got their way to make you a good free throw shooter. They're obviously doing it in practice. And it's just not correlating to the game with Nick Pringle and some of the others.
Maybe we should play games in the practice gym.
I don't know. That might be good. All right, we'll get more into this as we move along. We'll get some sound from Lamont Paris about what happened last night. Another close loss, this one to Ole Miss. It is a halftime show. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford here on the game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Appreciate you hanging out with us as we roll up until 3 o'clock. Don't forget tomorrow from Village Idiot on Whaley. It's really like we do it every year. It's our baseball preview show.
Well, you don't do it.
Not this year.
Not this year.
I'm out this year.
Again, I can't believe the girlfriend didn't take the college baseball and pizza as a legitimate excuse to miss Valentine's Day.
You know, I mean, if I were her, if we were reversed,
sure,
I'd go with that. I'd even say, I'll come along with you, honey.
Totally.
That sounds dreamy and romantic.
It's better.
Yeah.
Asparagus pizza in Founders Park.
Old Tara's spending Valentine's weekend.
You did get a gift,
Sucking up, man.
Did get a gift, right?
The gift is driving.
Oh, that's right.
Is driving there. The gift is getting out of the car.
I would say we talked about the lottery yesterday.
Right. I'm going to be wearing a Valentine bow when I walk in the house.
No further questions.
Hey, you keep that mental picture in your head, sir.
Yeah, I didn't need that. I don't know what's worse, that or Dave's hairy chest from that old promo you and Jay used to have.
Still the best. That was one of the best moments of Jay turning colors ever on the show. So we'll be there. Well, I won't be, but Tyler and Jay will be there doing the baseball preview show. David Cloninger, obviously from the Post and Courier. Our buddy Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central will stop in as well. Who knows who else will jump on the show? But that is tomorrow starting at noon. We go to 3:45, a special version of the halftime show, till 3:45. Then it's on. Pre-game with Derek and with Stewart, getting you ready for first pitch, 4 o'clock. The Paul Maneri era starts.
The Monera.
What I call him, Maneri?
No, the Monera.
Yeah, it's the Monera?
It's the Monera.
I like that. It's the Monera. All right, let's get some Lamont Paris from last night in the post game. Lamont basically, let's get cut one, Dave. Here's Lamont saying, it's Groundhog Day. Same old, same old.
Find ourselves in a situation that unfortunately is a familiar situation, and that, you know, you play a really good team. You play a pretty good game, at least anyway. And then, you know, there's one or two things end up being your Achilles heel, and you end up not winning the game. So it's difficult. It's difficult to know what to say to the guys, to connect to them, because, you know, it's frustrating for me, but more than frustration, I feel a sense of empathy for them and what they're going through. And you know, for young people, it's not that easy. Sometimes to bounce back and be as chipper as you need to in order to go out and win another game. They've done a great job of that, but just unfortunate. You know, they made a couple of plays. We had a couple of plays that we did not make offensively, and then we had a couple of errors, offensive rebound late. I think at the free throw line, that one hurt us, and, you know, missed a bunch of free throws. So didn't turn the ball over this time. Other times that's been what's gotten us. So still just trying to get better and manage those last 3 or 4 minutes in a way that you can be in control of the game coming down the stretch.
I mean, look, this isn't a team filled with closers. You got really one closer, right?
You got one great player, some good players around him, but not what you need to win, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, look, and we've been talking about this all year, is that you've got guys who are good in certain roles, but you're asking these guys to do more than probably the role that they're built for. Like Jamari Thomas. I love Jamari Thomas. We had him on. Remember we did the
that nice guy.
Our little
tries hard. I mean, good effort.
I mean, he does. He plays defense like a beast. He's a good 3 points, above average 3-point shooter. Elijah and I were looking at some fancy analytic numbers. He's an excellent corner. He shoots 40% from the corner threes. He gets to the line. The problem is, because he's 5'8". He gets limited once you get into the paint in the SEC against athletic, long, tall dudes, and you're 5'8". I don't care how much hop you have. You know, you're not going up strong. You got to alter your shot. Your shot gets blocked. You got to double pump. You got to do this. You got to do that. His shooting percentage, he shoots under 40% inside the three-point line.
Yep.
He shoots in the 20 percentile in some spots inside the three-point line. He shoots below average in pretty much all areas of the court inside three. And so you're asking a guy to do a lot of things that really, in a perfect world, you wouldn't ask him to do so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. By the way, over the last 3 games between Ole Miss, Kentucky, and A&M, he is 10 of 38 from the field.
Yeah, that's not good. You know, I'm not a calculus major or a math major, but that is not a good average, shooting
it's
average.
Below 30%.
Yes, it is. You're getting almost near 25%, to be
Yeah.
quite honest with you. So that's a struggle. I mean, Nick Pringle in the right role shines, and there's times Nick Pringle does things, and you go, wow, that was pretty good. He had a nice little spin move in the lane last night, and he got fouled and went to the line, and it was a really nice, quick move. There are moments of that, but he's not the guy to put out there and say, he's a guy that I need to depend on to make X amount of shots or score X amount of points.
Yeah, I thought his physicality and effort was pretty good last night, maybe a little bit better than we've seen in the past, but in being physical, he got himself to the line quite a few times and missed 5 shots. So
I
again,
love the fact he gets to the line.
It goes back to the fact of, okay,
Can't make
double-edged
shots.
sword.
Yeah, he's the guy that gets to the line. And Thomas makes a higher percentage of free throws than Pringle. But again, Thomas should be making an even higher percent of his free throws. But Pringle really struggles at the line. So good news. He does enough things to get to the line.
He does.
Bad news. He gets to the line.
Well, and look at last night, Benjamin Bozeman's Verdonk, game of his career up to this
God
point.
love
Played
him, man.
20 minutes, scored 7 and was more featured than what I think we've ever seen him before. Gets to the line 6 times, only makes 3 of them.
Yeah.
So again, and all that adds up.
Look at Pringle and Bozeman Verdonks together at the line.
Yeah, so combined they are 7 of 15. So yeah, that's missed 8 shots and you lost a game by 4.
And I don't like to pick on him because BBV, I mean, that was the game of his life.
Yeah.
He was physical. He was active. The putback on Pringle's missed shot was huge late in the second half.
Yeah.
And he does some nice things on the floor. He hustles. He keeps rebounds alive. He's tipping balls. He's getting floor burns. But again, at the end of the day, you got to go to the line and make free throws. And when you see Bozeman Verdonk on the court and you're the opposing defense, you're not even guarding him.
Yep.
You're just not. Now it's a 4-on-5 game. But also, are you using Bozeman Verdonk more because of the things Pringle can't do when it comes to some of the stuff that you need to be done on the floor? So are you using BBV more because of some other limitations? So go back to last year. How many minutes did our boy Benjamin get, you think?
Hardly any.
And this year, because last year you had the pieces, right? Mm-hmm. This year, you're asking him to do more than you probably want to ask him to do.
Sure.
Because of the way the roster is. We talked about Josh Gray last year. I mean, Josh Gray couldn't catch the ball when you threw it to him, but Josh Gray was an animal on the glass. He was physical.
Yeah.
He might not have blocked your shot, but he had knocked you in the third row, right?
He had a role, and he played it well when it was asked of him.
Yes, and I just think that you're asking guys to step up and do more than they probably should be asked to do.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of this. Again, we go to Zach Davis. Zach Davis has a role. He's a heck of a defender, especially on the point of that 1-3-1. When Davis cuts to the basket and he gets a pass, he finishes really well. When you're asking him to dribble and pass and take 10, 12 shots a game, that's not his strength. You're asking him to step out of his strengths. And I think a lot of this basketball team, besides Colin Murray Boyles, is a bunch of guys being asked to do probably more than they should be asked to do on a winning team. All right, halftime show. Just in case you woke up and you're like, what's going on in the world of sports? We'll get you caught up on the headlines next, sponsored by the Gutterman. It's a halftime show. David Dare controlling the entire boat. Tyler Head, Terry Ford till 3 on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, David Dare. Getting you caught up on the things that have happened in the world since you maybe just woke up, maybe you haven't been paying attention. So it's our job to get you caught up. In the wow, I'm so stunned and shocked. It's official. The Aaron Rodgers era is over with the Jets. Now, does he get a statue outside of the stadium there in New Jersey?
I don't think so. I don't think he. Maybe him holding the American flag, because that was kind of the highlight of his time there.
Or him on the ground holding his Achilles.
Yeah, well, that preceded it shortly after. But no, what was expected out of Aaron Rodgers in New York did not happen.
No, and that was, look, you were looking for not the perfect scenario, but you were looking at, okay, Rodgers will come back, even though he's almost 40, and he did have the greatest year in the world, and there was some injury stuff. He's going to show up in New York and be Tom Brady 2.0.
Yeah, working with his buddy, Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they eventually obviously brought in Devontae Adams. Like, hey, it's gonna be great.
Oh, yeah, because you're going to be just like Brady. I mean, Brady played till he was like 102.
Sure.
I mean, Rodgers can do what Brady did,
Yeah,
right?
Brady also never tore his Achilles at 40.
No.
Or 39.
And that took this thing down a bad road.
Yeah.
But the other thing, too, is, look, when you give your organization over to these guys, you're always taking a chance. I mean, Brady came in, but here's the difference. Bruce Arians was the head coach in Tampa, a high-level offensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Brady came in, Arians continued to tweak the offense to make it Tom Brady-like. The things Brady does well, the things Brady wanted to do, he feels comfortable with, and incorporate that with the things that Arians wanted to do. They kind of like sat down and made a marriage out of it.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers came in with his own guy to run an offense, and a guy, by the way, who stinks at running an offense, Nathaniel Hackett. But he was Aaron Rodgers' buddy. And here's the thing. I'm guessing Aaron Rodgers was like, we're going to run the Packer offense. Hackett was there. And really, it's going to be my offense anyway, and I'll just tell old Nathaniel what to do. Well, it was a disaster because Nathaniel Hackett he's good at telling jokes in the quarterback room. He's good at bringing everybody coffee. He's good at doing whatever he's told by the offensive coordinator and the head coach. You know what he's bad at?
Calling plays.
Yep.
Or running an offense in general.
Can't run an offense, can't call plays. But Aaron Rodgers, because this guy was his boy, started this thing down a bad path.
And by allowing Aaron Rodgers to essentially hire Nathaniel Hackett himself, this power struggle that we talked about so much on and off over the past 2 years that eventually led to Robert Saleh getting fired and Aaron Rodgers having to say, I had nothing to do with that, when we know very clearly his influence is a big reason why Robert Saleh ended up getting the boot. And again, it just turned into this giant mess. And I commend Aaron Glenn for coming in and from the jump being like, this isn't about one person. This is a team. If he doesn't want to be part of this team, then he can go somewhere else because he doesn't want to deal with that.
Right, which Aaron Glenn should be that way because this wasn't his mess. And when you buy a house, right, and you come in, you don't be cleaning up somebody else's mess. And I think even if Aaron Rodgers sat there and went, you know what, I won't go on Pat McAfee anymore, guys, and I won't go in my dirt hut anymore, guys, and you guys just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I still don't think he comes back. No. I really don't. I believe that this was all a dog and pony show, and Aaron Glenn knew when he took this gig he was going to have anybody else, Mr. Rodgers, he'd rather have a quarterback.
Well, and again, there's not as much upside to this because, again, he seems like damaged goods at this point. If he's going out there and you're winning, 10, 11 games, for one, Saleh probably wouldn't have gotten fired, but still, you're able to excuse some of the things happening off the field and some of the things happening behind the scenes. But when you win 6 out of 18 starts over 2 seasons, no, we're not bending the knee to you for anything.
When the team struggles and when you're struggling individually and you're getting paid a ton of loot and you're looked at as a savior and you're not, it's just time to move. Everybody go their separate ways. And the other part of this real quick before we move on, because really they thought they could make another Tom Brady. Bruce Arians was a successful head coach. He was coach of the year in Indy when he took over for Chuck Pagano when Pagano had the cancer thing and Arians had to coach him. He was, I believe, coach of the year in Arizona. Took the Cardinals to the NFC Championship game. This guy is a good head coach. Saleh was unproven at best. So that was another situation. You had an unproven coach who didn't have any skins in the game of success, bringing in a egomaniac, diva, Hall of Fame quarterback, and that didn't work either. So, you can't just cookie cutter what Brady did in Tampa and just go, Aaron Rodgers is going to do it. And plus, Aaron Rodgers is not the leader Tom Brady is. Let's just get that out of the way, too. So, anyway, it failed, and they're moving their separate ways. And we'll see where Aaron Rodgers ends up, if he wants to go anywhere or if he just wants to retire and hang out with Pat McAfee and a lot of Hollywood actresses. Alex Bregman, go to Major League Baseball, the Houston Astro third baseman, universally hated for a while because of what happened with the scandal of the Astros, is now signed with the Boston Red Sox. 3 years, roughly $40 million a year. I'm going to say this about Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman, once the trash can thing got found out, has not been the same player.
Nope.
He was a 31 homer guy, a 41 homer guy, put up gigantic numbers. Since then, he has never passed 26 homers in a season. His batting average has never gotten above 270. Slugging percentage stays in the mid 400s. He's not the player because, well, we found out what was his magic, right?
Sure.
But you know what he is, and he's not worth $40 million a year. But the thing about Alex Bregman, he's a winner. In the clubhouse, that dude is a leader and a winner. And that's what he brings to the table. Now, it's not worth $40 million a year, but you bring that guy in your clubhouse, he was a winner in college. Dude, he's that guy when he's on the other team, you hate him. But he's with you, you love him. And that's Bregman. Now, the Red Sox were a surprising team last year, were better than people thought. You add that guy to a locker or to a clubhouse with that kind of leadership, and he can go, by the way, look at my rings. We'll see what that does for the Red Sox. Again, is it an overpay? Yeah. But but forget the money for a minute. He is a good clubhouse guy to bring in, and he's still a solid player. He's not a star anymore, but it's a good get if you're trying to teach young guys how to win.
For sure.
Alex Bregman. So Bregman goes to the Red Sox. 3 years, $120 million for Bregman. He might not even play third base, which, by the way, he won the Gold Glove last year. And Devers isn't nowhere near as good a third baseman as Bregman. I'd pull Devers in and say, dude, you're going to change positions. You go with that? But anyway, we're doing what, just in case you woke up, here on the game sponsored by the Gutterman. Real quick, we got to get this in. So, Dalton Knecht, who you saw play at Tennessee last year and was really good, first-round pick in the NBA draft by the Lakers. Knecht was part of a trade with Charlotte last week. Knecht was going to go to Charlotte, and in return, the Lakers are going to get a big man, Robert Williams. It didn't work at Mark Williams, rather, because Williams failed the physical. So Knecht is back with the Lakers. Knecht said he was finally talked to in a presser, and he said it was like a movie. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's how we all felt.
Yeah, it was just bizarre. All of a sudden, you're getting traded, then you're not because the other guy fails the physical. And now you're back with the team that traded you. Now, look, players should understand it's a business. You shouldn't let this be personal. You shouldn't let it hit your ego. But it's human nature. Your team traded you, right? And now you're back with the team that traded you because the trade didn't work out because the other guy failed the physical. Not because they, we're having second thoughts. We want you back. No, you were gone. Yeah. They just got you back because the other guy failed the physical.
Yeah, it's the girl breaks up with you, but then the guy that she thought she was going to start dating didn't work out, so now she comes back to you.
She knocks on your door.
Oh, well, this is awkward.
Because you didn't want to lose her in the first place, right? But
sure.
You did because she wanted to upgrade from you.
Right.
And now that guy failed the physical.
And then now she's just settling for you.
And she's settling for you because she couldn't get the guy she really wanted. Really interesting. But so I think they will eventually trade Knecht at some point in the offseason to go get that big man that they want. They've got some draft capital. They've got Knecht and another piece or two. Eventually they trade him to go out and get the big man they need. Because that's what they did. It just didn't work out. All right, just in case you woke up, sponsored by the Gutterman, get you caught up on the world of sports. Firehouse Sub text the hour at 803-404-6100. Also, we'll be giving away some tickets to the Sunday game against Sacred Heart, the noon start for Gamecock baseball. That'll be coming up here in the next half hour as well. It's a halftime show. Tyler Head, David Ayer, Terry Ford, we're here till 3 on the game. All right, time to get our Firehouse sub text of the hour, 803-404-6100 here on the Halftime Show. What you got, man?
Richard says everyone keeps asking Lamont about Cam and why.
So, there's reasons here. And to the texter's point, for whatever it is, Cam Scott's not good enough to play.
He's not playing more, but they're putting him in a situation if you're good enough, and he's gotten minutes at times this year.
Right.
You just haven't seen what you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, and look, everybody develops at a different rate. And Cam Scott showed a lot in high school to be a top 50 recruit in the country. It's just the transition to the college game, for whatever the reason is, has been a lot slower than people had hoped. Now, next year he could ball out. If he stays at South Carolina and plays next year, he could ball out.
Sure.
And we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But obviously, this has not gone as well as anybody was going to hope with Cam Scott in his freshman year.
No. And again, next year, you're obviously going to be losing Colin Murray-Boyles, where the opportunity to him to step into that role would have been there. But again, it's going to take a lot of offseason development and work to get him anywhere close to that point of potentially being your guy. And an area that you probably thought maybe you didn't need to address in the transfer portal this offseason, you may have to now.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, you're losing your point guard, you're losing your power forward, you're going to lose your go-to guy. I guess Pringle was more looked as a center, and Colin Murray-Boyles is probably the 4. You're going to lose both of those guys. You're losing Jacoby Wright. You're losing your point guard in Thomas. Davis is back. I mean, you never know who's back and who's not, but Davis could come back.
Yep.
Obviously, you're hoping Cam Scott will come back a better player. Conyers showed you some stuff that you said, there's some possibility there. And you've got some freshmen coming in who are interesting. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to hit the portal hard. You've got no go-to guy on what's left. The pieces that are left are the pieces that are coming in. You've got no surefire, he's been there, done that go-to guy on this basketball team going in next year. So Lamont's got to go out there, and he not only does he have to hit the portal, he's got to nail it and get it right.
Yep.
So because what happened this year, it's complete opposite of last year, right? The complete opposite of last year. You nailed it in the portal last year. This year you swung and missed.
And it can be a year-to-year thing like that.
Mm-hmm. Look at Missouri.
Yep.
Last year, how many conference wins last year?
None.
Year before, got the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
This year, they're going back to the NCAA tournament. In between, abysmal. And that, unfortunately, is the wild swing of the life of the portal. You don't want to be that team, but that's the world you live in right now.
And you still have to recruit well out of high school, obviously.
I agree.
Which, again, Coach Parrish has brought in some good talent. We have more good talent coming in 2026 the end of 2025 as well. But you're going to have to address some needs in the portal and hope you win this time, because it clearly has not been a win this year.
No, not at all. And especially coming off of this season. And look, you got LSU. I think that's the game is in Baton Rouge, though. But you got LSU, which is a winnable game. Arkansas has got a lot of talent. They're getting it together now.
And you got that game at home.
That game's at home. But Arkansas they've showed this year, they can drop a clunker. So you've still got a chance to grab that one or maybe 2 SEC wins possibly before this is all said and done. But yeah, this has gone poorly. There's no doubt, and part of that is not getting what you hoped you were going to get from Cam Scott. Well, it's all over the roster. You were hoping for better from Thomas, from Pringle. You were hoping better from Cam Scott. You were hoping Jacoby Wright would step up and be better. You were hoping guys were going to fill certain roles, and they just haven't consistently. They've been giving you moments, right? But they haven't given you consistency. Yeah, Colin Murray-Boyles has been fantastic. But he hasn't become the guy that's out there, being able to stretch the floor consistently either.
Nope.
So it's been rough, man. It's been absolutely rough. All right, we got a lot of football and some football and throwing even more football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. It's a halftime show. David Dare is taking us down the road. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, we go till 3 here on the game. Halftime show. David Dare making sure we stay on the air. Tyler had Terry Ford. We were going up until 3 here on the game. We do football, and more football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on the game. All right, so this is interesting. Greg Byrne, the athletic director at Alabama, we're going to play this cut, Dave, was talking about, court storming, field storming, things of that nature. And Byrne had a proposition, Tyler, what to do if fans storm the field, storm the court. Greg Byrne says possibly maybe you should do this. Hit it, Dave.
I think from a safety standpoint, keeping people off the fields and the courts is a good thing for everybody involved. If we said that the home team, if they storm the field or the court, they're going to lose that game right then and there, that will stop it. I'm not overly optimistic and understand it's not a popular opinion in a lot of people's view. I'll get criticized for it. That's okay. I do believe in it. And if somebody can come up with something more that's a better idea that does not include that, I'm all for it. I'm not saying that's the only possible way. I'm convinced in my own simple mind that that would be something that would stop it. Let's celebrate up in the stands. Let's have a great environment. I'd even be fine if you say, hey, let's give it 3 minutes to get the team off the field. And then if they want to come down and celebrate, great.
Yeah, I'm not with the forfeiting wins thing.
Well, he's in a unique spot, being
Sure
the
is.
athletic director at Alabama, who's, they're pretty good at football. They've gotten pretty good at basketball. When they do lose on the road, a lot of times fans can be tempted to storm the field or the court against them. So it's convenient that he would recommend, well, hey, maybe we just have them forfeit the win and we walk out of there with a win. Could you imagine, right? Let's throw the scenario out there. The Vanderbilt game, right? 40-35 Vanderbilt, they hold off Alabama. Diego Pavia turns into a national star. And because the fans storm the field, they go, actually, wait a minute. Alabama now wins the game.
Oh, yeah. Then what they do? Then they storm the press box and the administration.
There would be riots.
Yes, there would be. There absolutely would be. That would be insane.
Yes.
And you can't do that. That's why I'm saying you can't do that. I mean,
because that has nothing to do with the contest that just took place.
No, you don't. You do not punish the team for fans storming the field. You just don't do it. And you just brought up, it's anarchy. Those fans would turn. They're looking for anybody with SEC on their shirt to pummel them.
Because then, guess what? I don't know. Let's say the fans of the visiting team who just lost
storm the field.
Let's say they don't change their shirts and storm the field to cause a forfeit. You just make it very complicated. But at the same time, I understand where he's coming from because this is a safety issue. We've seen players, fans, things like that get hurt. Filipowski got hurt at last year with a court storming thing. What Caitlin Clark got ran into by somebody. When I was playing against somebody a couple years ago. So these kind of things happen, and I understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, I don't know what the solution is. And look, we have these increased fines now, and the fine goes to the other school. Is there anybody? Let's go back to the A&M game here last fall. Out of the thousands of people that got ready to storm the field, was anybody saying, hang on, guys, if we do this, we got to pay, $500,000 to Texas A&M or something like that? Was anybody thinking about that? No.
Well, the one guy said it, and they ran over him.
Exactly. And here's the thing. This is not a legal thing. Like, there's no place or league that allows this to happen. And the guy got on the PA and said, fans, remember, you got to stay off the field after the game. They put that little message that everyone just laughed at.
Oh, sure.
Like, you've got thousands of people. Your 12 security guards on the field aren't stopping them if they all decide they want to come on your field.
It's like Kevin Bacon in Animal House. All is well.
Exactly.
All is well.
Remain calm. All is well.
There is no easy solution to this. And it happens more now because of the advent of your phone.
Yeah.
You run on the field with your phone, getting video of you running on the field with your phone. And so it's become more popular where I see field and court stormings and I go, really? You did it for that game?
You'd be the number 24 team.
Wow. And you storm the field. Woo, or you storm the court. Yoo-hoo! So, yeah, I mean, it happens more now because, again, we're a society where you can videotape yourself running on the field or court, or you can videotape others doing it, or everybody wants to be part of the video that's going to be on TV later, like those guys at Vandy.
Yeah.
Now, look, that was a legit, hey, we beat Alabama. That's before Alabama went in this year or last year, right?
Yep.
So beating Alabama was still special at that point.
Yep.
I get that one. I get the 64 people in the stands that were Commodore fans ran on the field, took down the goalpost and threw it in the river. I get it. But some of these wins, you're like, well, okay. You beat a team that was ranked earlier this year and they're not ranked anymore, but you ran on the field. Okay, why? But at the end of the day, I get torn because it is like I remember when the fans here stormed the field after the Tennessee win. And the players were like, man, that was like one of the greatest moments ever and all that. And there's something about that moment and all the euphoria and all the happiness and all. I won't lie to you. I'm in the press box watching and go, man, this looks really cool.
Sure.
I kind of wish I was doing it. I was like going, man, that looks like fun.
Can I get downstairs quick?
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And so there's this balance of safety. I understand the suits. I really do.
Yeah, the lawsuits. There's
The
legal action.
litigation is going to be crazy. Some goober gets up on a goalpost. Like, let's go back again to Vanderbilt.
Yep.
One of these goofs that was getting the goalpost, what if you get hurt and you get a head injury and now you're incapacitated, maybe permanently? You know who's getting sued?
Alabama or Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, the SEC, the goalpost maker, the people that made the turf.
Greg Sankey's next door neighbor.
Exactly. Everybody's getting sued. I get it. I get the safety, the litigation. I get that stuff. So what you would and Greg Byrne brought up something, and again, it sounds like, ooh, maybe that's it. But let's run through the scenario. Wait 3 minutes for everybody to get off the field. Everybody's excited and pumped and jacked, and of course lubricated. Running down to jump on the field. Then all of a sudden, okay, we need you to wait 3 minutes. There's 3 minutes on the clock. Wait 3 minutes to get the other team and all the other personnel off the field, and then have at it. The countdown starts now at 3 minutes.
Good luck.
Yeah. Sounds good in theory, right?
It does. And again, I understand where he's coming from of something needing to be done before some kind of ultimate catastrophe happens and all that. I don't want field storming to go away. I think it's special. I think it's cool. I think of what makes college sports so unique. And look, everybody in college wants the opportunity to do that. Hey, man, back when I was in school, we stormed the field or the court against so-and-so. It was the coolest thing ever. I got a picture with, the left tackle or something along those lines. Like, everybody wants that experience, which I guess that's why it's become so prevalent now, even in games that don't necessarily, warrant it, because everybody wants to have the experience of doing that. But again, from the legal standpoint, I get it, and I'm sure Ray Tanner was sweating, watching everybody storm the field against Texas A&M. Like, oh, God, please nobody get hurt. Please nobody get hurt. No players, no fans, no nothing like that. Don't have a Tennessee player, or an A&M player sock somebody in the face walking off the field. Like, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong there, and I understand where they're coming from, but how you contain it outside of building barbed wire fencing around the perimeter, I don't know.
I feel like, and it's sad, and I hope this doesn't happen, I feel like something will be done that we'll all go, ugh.
It would have to be a very tragic
I'm here to say it's
deal.
going to happen because some catastrophe is going to happen.
Yes.
Something bad is going to happen and will lead to barbed wire fences around stadiums and people not being able to, get onto the field. It's going to get ugly and serious because something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't, but you know how these things go, Tyler. When do things truly change, and sometimes to the detriment of everybody?
Yeah, until something really bad happens. And when you have an increased amount of these things happening now, that again, hey, congratulations, you beat a team that was ranked 3 years ago and you want to storm the field because of it. The more these things happen, the more you're opening up the possibility of something going wrong.
And that's the sad part. It really is. And you hope it doesn't come to that. Because I'm with you. I think there's something special about it. About storm a field, storm a court, and all that stuff that goes into it that's fun and positive. But the negative is hovering, and the negative's a thing, and I understand why there's the concern of the negative, and you just hope the negative doesn't happen with worst-case scenario.
Yeah, and We talked about this last year when the SEC made the updated rule change of, hey, now it's going to be X amount of dollars, 250,000, then 500,000. That's them covering their butts.
Sure it
by
is.
saying, hey, we're doing something to discourage you from wanting to storm the field. But again, ask anybody that's getting ready to storm a field in Willie B or over at Colonial Life Arena. Hey, remember, don't want to pay $250,000 or $500,000. Nobody's thinking about that. Nobody cares because they're concerned about going out there and having their moment, having the time of their life.
Ready?
And it's not their money.
It's like anything, ready? When you're driving your parents' car and you wreck it, you feel bad. But when you wreck your own car and you're paying
worse.
your own insurance and you're paying your own to get this fixed and that fixed, guess what?
Exactly.
When it's your money, it matters. If they took money from every fan who stormed the field, oh, you want to storm the field? That'll be $100.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's say, God forbid, the tragedy happens this year somewhere, and the lawyers come and, hey, Greg Sankey with the SEC, what are you guys doing to prevent it? We tried. We said, hey, you're going to fine your school this much money. You're going to get in trouble because of it. You're beyond, probation or whatever. We tried. Didn't work. So they're covering their own butts.
$250,000 to an SEC team making millions upon millions from a TV deal.
Well, that's the joke that we always have is like, oh, they'll find the money.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Well, if you started a GoFundMe right now for the fans on the field to pay for the $250,000, $500,000, they'd get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what should be before the season starts. The GoFundMe page to pay the fine in case we storm the field.
Yes.
People put money in to storm the field. I got some tickets to give away. Let me make sure I get it correct. It's for Sacred Heart Sunday. First pitch noon, 11:45, by the way, here on the game in Columbia and Myrtle Beach. We have a pair of tickets we're going to give away. Let's make it 2 pair and get it over with now. 2 pair of tickets right now. 803-404-6100. If your caller's number, go for it. What do you want to do?
5 and 6.
Callers number 5 and 6 right now, 803-404-6100. 2 pair of tickets for Sunday's game against Sacred Heart. Give us a ring right now. Callers, you said 5 and 6?
Yep.
You'll win right now. Give us a ring. It's a halftime show. We talk football in the 1 o'clock hour right here on the game. Halftime show, football, more football, and we talk football and some football here in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors.
By the way, you know how many days until kickoff for Virginia Tech?
You know this. Tell me.
199.
Look at you.
We're under 200 days.
Sweet. Felt like the season just ended.
I know. Only 200 days.
Nice. Very good. Very nice. Hey, speaking of Gamecocks from this past season, 11 former Gamecocks are on the NFL list for the Combine invitees. Running back Rocket Sanders, tight end Josh Simon, offensive lineman Torricelli Simpkins, defensive tackles TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, and DeAndre Jules, edge Kyle Kennard, linebackers Demetrius Knight, Bam Martin Scott, corners O'Donnell Fortune, and safety Nick Emanwari. There's a name missing there.
Who are we leaving out?
Debo Williams.
Oh, that's right.
Did not get an invite to the Combine.
Huh. Interesting.
So that's who is going off to the Combine, those 11. That doesn't mean Debo Williams won't play in the NFL or wouldn't get drafted or whatever, or signed by a team if he doesn't get drafted. But it's interesting that Debo Williams did not get invited.
Yeah, considering the other two linebackers did. That is,
well, especially Bam Martin Scott.
yeah, because you would say, all right, I get, okay, D Knight popped and you know, sideline, very athletic, very fast. Like you can make the argument that, you know, he was the better linebacker of the group over the course of the entire season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would put Debo ahead of Bam Martin Scott, but I don't know the full process of how they decide who all these guys to go are, but that's interesting.
Here's just the thought process. Remember, NFL will let a guy know what they think of him and his draft possibilities and all that other stuff, right?
Yep.
Because you can go and put in to get basically evaluated by the NFL and see if you want to move forward in the draft or come back or whatever the case. I'm sure there's certain evaluation criteria they look at for players they invite to the Combine. Now, Debo Williams, we've talked about it. I mean, dude's like a missile, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a good missile. Sometimes
He's going to hit something.
It's missing its mark, right?
He'll hit something.
Yes, we don't know what he's going to hit. And the NFL might, in their evaluation process, they might have, because athletically you think the athletic parameters he should fit in, right?
Yeah.
Is it just when they watched him on film and they put their own grade on him on film? Because, I mean, Pro Football Focus grades for him sometimes weren't very kind. But he's a guy, again, he flies around and he makes things happen. And sometimes those things are great and sometimes it's collateral damage, so to speak. But maybe the way they looked at him and graded him at this point, they didn't think he was a guy they were going to invite to the Combine. Because athletically, I think he would hit the mark.
Well, that was my thing, is I always feel like for the Combine, it's more about your athleticism as opposed to, yes, what you do on the field is certainly important. But again, we call it the Underwear Olympics for a reason, because it's about what you test in your 40. It's about your high jump. It's about your shuttle run and like all these like mechanical type of things that either, make people drool over you for what you can do in those kind of things that, help for them hopefully translate over to playing on the field. But I don't think it's end all be all what your play is.
I almost feel like maybe there's a component of how they look at you as your play translates to the NFL. Maybe they look at that because athletically, Debo Williams should be there.
You would think. I mean, if Bam Martin Scott's going to be there.
Right. So it's just very, it hit me when I saw this entire list and I didn't see Debo Williams on it.
Yeah, that's definitely unique.
Yeah. So, but out of those guys, Demetrius Knight should really pop. Because Nick Emanwari is going to pop at the Underwear Olympics as well. I think Tonka Hemingway is going to be interesting. He's kind of a tweener, and that's what hurts him. He's not really a defensive tackle. He's not really a defensive end. He's sort of like a guy that's the right team could get him and kind of move him inside and out and all these other places. And who knows? Hemingway might gain some weight, play inside in the NFL, or maybe he'll just develop, athletically and maybe developmentally with his skill set and move outside. Maybe he's just a guy in his career that's going to be a nice rotational piece, whatever. But he'll be an interesting guy at the Combine because he has athleticism, just Tonka Hemingway.
Yeah, definitely so.
So, but that's the 11 guys for South Carolina that are invited to the Combine. All right, College Football Network, and we didn't get to this yesterday. I'll make sure I find it here on my 5 million
God,
tabs.
how many tabs do you have open?
Dude, I have got tabs open like nobody's business. College Football Network graded all the first-year head coaches. And some of these are interesting. I was surprised in some, like, for an example, Jeff Lebby got a D. Now, I get Mississippi State was 2-10, 0-8 in the SEC. And, you know, their offense was better. They scored more points. They were more explosive. But they lost more games than the year before.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't exactly put in a position to succeed.
that's what I was getting ready to say. I think that the grade here is unfair because what did Jeff Lebby walk into?
Nothing. Boy, we got to go back. Coach Leach had the program in a solid place. Obviously, unfortunately, he passes away. You hand it over to Zach Arnett, and it falls off the rails. I forget the name of the coordinator that he hired in 23 that completely changed the offense, and it didn't fit what they were trying to do. And
Didn't fit the quarterback, Will Rogers.
Didn't fit the quarterback or Will Rogers, and you basically had to start over. And again, Lebby, good offensive mind, but never been a head coach for it. You're putting a lot on his plate. Oh, by the way, go play in the SEC, and what they played Georgia, and they played Alabama. I forget who they played, but they played a lot of really good competition. Played some of those games actually kind of tight. Like the Georgia game was kind of close. Ole Miss, obviously. So yeah, he just that's a harsh grade on somebody that wasn't set up to succeed right away.
Well, and the folks that wrote this at College Football Network even say there's a lot of work to do if Lebby wants to survive year two. No. There's not a quick trigger in Starkville for that situation. You got to get Lebby at least 3 years and see where this program's at after year 3.
And I guess coming off the heels of Arnett getting let go after 1 year, if they're ready to cut and run that quickly. And so like, no, that was a unique situation. I think Lebby's going to get the time. I think they see the potential in him in the future, and they'll give him what he needs.
For me, Arnett was a Band-Aid. They said, look, we're going to put him in because really we're stuck because of the situation we're in, because of the unfortunate passing of Mike Leach. We're going to give this guy a year and see what can happen. We're going to give him the job and give him the gig, and we'll see how he progresses. And first, again, you hired the wrong offensive coordinator, and that didn't go well. And you, being a defensive guru, your defense fell apart too.
Yes.
And the year was a dumpster fire. So you go, you know what? This cat isn't ready. Okay, fine. We tried it. Now let's go find a guy that we can be patient with, that we really believe in. Lebby's getting at least 3 years, if not more, at Mississippi State.
Without a doubt. And again, they're a program that, outside of a brief spell with Dan Mullen, they haven't exactly had a ton of success over the years. It's like, well, if you're not in the college football playoff by year number 2, Lebby, you're out of here. You know what I mean? Like, there's different expectations.
Right. Also, I thought it was a little unfair. Tony Sanchez in New Mexico State got a D+. Jerry Kill left. Diego Pavia left.
Yeah, they all went to Vanderbilt.
And they all ran to Vanderbilt.
And his tight end. He left too.
New Mexico State only returned 41% of their production from the year before. This guy comes in, and they crater at 3-9, and he gets a D+. There's some hard graders at College Football Network, man. Just hard graders. Jonathan Smith at Michigan State got a D+ as well. I mean, again, that program was in shambles. And Smith showed up. I mean, yeah, they ended up 5-7.
That's actually not terrible.
I'm like, what do you expect from year one? The guy came in, the thing was a mess, and he got him around 500.
I mean, I'm not going to throw him a parade, but that's not a bad first season.
Yeah. Now, this one is deserved. Sean Lewis is an offensive guru, right? And he was looked at as doing, when he got Kent State to go to bowl games, because Kent State has been a terrible program forever. People looked at Sean Lewis like, wow, this guy's an up-and-comer. Offensive, big brain.
Yep.
Goes to Colorado, offensive coordinator for Dion. Dion takes the job from him 3/4 of the way through the season. You knew he was leaving. Went out to San Diego State as the head coach. A team it's been a good program. Lewis, 3-9 in year one. That thing went off the rails. And nobody thought it was going to be that bad.
Right.
So that's a D+. It's deserved. Now, again, Lewis probably coming in there with his idea of the offense he's going to run, and obviously he's not a defensive guy. You got to be a little patient to let him get his stuff in there. But yeah, that thing went real bad. Willie Fritz at Houston got a C-, who I think is a good coach. It's just a rebuild. Dana Holgerson didn't leave a lot sitting around.
Nah.
Now, I'll say this. I think Brian Brennan got too high a grade, a C- at Arizona. Brent Brennan took over a really good program with a lot of players left, had the best year they'd had in forever under Jed Fish, and they went 4-8. And they had their quarterback, and they had a wide receivers going in the first round of the draft. Brent Brennan, I don't know what he did, but he might want to do the opposite next year. Because that should not have been as bad. Arizona should have been a much better team. The guys that got good grades, because we're running out of time, I want to stick on the negative here. The A obviously goes to Kurt Cignetti at Indiana, who was phenomenal. Brought in all those guys from the portal.
Plus.
Yes, lots of A-pluses for Coach Sig. Great work at Indiana. Just a heck of a job. He's going to be diving heavy in the portal again this year. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
But he did a phenomenal job at Cignetti. Another one was Fran Brown at Syracuse. 10-3, 5-3 in the ACC. Kyle McCord came in there and played great at the quarterback position.
Led the FBS in passing.
Yeah, Brown, good recruiter. So Fran Brown, excellent work at Syracuse. Another A++ guy for his work. And Spencer Danielson at Boise State. Yes, he had a great running back in Ashton Jeanty, but that's more than just a quarterback. What Spencer Danielson did, especially because Boise State was trending in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And Spencer Danielson, in a short time, got him back right. So that's an A, absolutely there. And guess who else gets an A we're going to end with? Our boy Pete Limbo.
Who just got an extension, by the way.
Who got an extension. Pete Limbo, fine job at Buffalo, 9-4, 6-2 in the MAC, went to a bowl game. Big props for our bud Pete Limbo. And he deserved an A for what he did at Buffalo. That's College Football Network's grading of the first-year coaches. All right, halftime show. We just do football, and more football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors, Terry Ford and Tyler Head. We will come back, delve into the coaching hires in the NFL. We're in a coaching riff. Let's see what some of the experts, and we'll throw in our thoughts, what they think on the coaching hires in the NFL. That's next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. Well, what we're talking about is a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We're kind of focusing on coaches today in this 1 o'clock hour. With Terry Ford and Tyler Head and David Ayer. We looked at the college football coaches, the first-year guys. They were graded by the College Football Network. Some of those I agree with Tyler, and some of them I thought they were kind of like, come on, man, give somebody. I thought a couple guys were graded too harsh, but I thought like the coach Brennan at Arizona kind of got an easy pass for screwing that thing up.
Yeah, everybody's set of circumstances obviously different with what they inherit and the resources and all this kind of thing. So I don't think you can specifically look at records and go go based off that. But again, that's one person's opinion or set of people's opinions that decided on that, and that's perfect for what we do.
Sure, that's what we do. That's why we're here. And to keep going down that road, we flip over to the NFL and the Athletic. Jeff Howe writes for the Athletic. He rated the hires in the NFL, coaching hires. And obviously, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, Aaron Glenn, Kellen Moore, Liam Cohen, and Brian Schottenheimer were all hired to be head coaches. Well, 6 were head coaches. 1 was hired to be a Muppet.
Well, one of them, his name's not Brian Schottenheimer. It's head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep, and we lovingly call him Beaker.
Yes.
After one of the Muppets.
Jerry made him go change his name.
Yeah.
At the down the street at the Dallas DMV.
Absolutely. All right, so Jeff Howe, he ranked the coaches. Number 1, the best hire was Mike Vrabel in New England. Number 2, Ben Johnson in Chicago, and Pete Carroll in Vegas.
Okay.
Aaron Glenn then came next from the Jets. Then Kellen Moore by the Saints was the 5th because there was a tie at number 2. 6, Liam Cohen, Jacksonville, and then last, Brian Schottenheimer in Dallas, to the surprise of no one. I'm not surprised the 2 guys finished 6th and 7th, Cohen and Schottenheimer. I'd put them there too.
Yeah, and look, this is a list outside of Vrabel and Pete Carroll of guys that have never been head coaches before. So, you have to look individually at the organizations themselves, what those guys are good at, the areas of expertise, and kind of have to wait and see because, look, we've seen a million hotshot coordinators get an opportunity and fail miserably, and plenty of guys that maybe you didn't think were going to be all that great that ended up being awesome. So it's a flip of the coin kind of thing.
Sure, because we never really know. No one knows. When you hire a coordinator, you really don't know if he's going to be a good head coach or he's just a really good coordinator.
Let's go back to Matt Patricia, who, of course, is in the headlines this week because of taking the Ohio State job. And we were looking at it, yesterday. He was with New England, but has done nothing outside of that and got hired by the Lions because, he's a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator. But as soon as he got out from Bill Belichick's umbrella, he couldn't do anything.
He's awful. And he's been awful ever since.
And Ben Johnson, been under Dan Campbell. Is that the reason why he's so successful? Can he do it on his own? He's got a lot of resources to be successful. We're going to wait and see.
We know he's a fancy offensive coordinator. We don't know if he's a head coach. We don't know if he's a leader, and he's a culture builder. We got no clue.
Right.
0 clue. And with the 2 guys at the bottom, look, we know what's up in Dallas. We don't have to go there. We get it. Brian Schottenheimer's the only reason Brian Schottenheimer's a head coach because it was the Cowboys. Yeah, nobody else was hiring Brian Schottenheimer at all.
And Brian Schottenheimer and Liam Cohen, you look at their individual resumes up to this point, and most recently their last 2 jobs, not all overly that impressive. Again, Liam Cohen was commanding an offense that did make the playoffs, but we attribute so much of Baker Mayfield's turnaround to Dave Canales, who got hired in Charlotte for that reason. And it seems like the Buccaneers are like, hey, just kind of keep this same thing going. So I don't know how much ingenuity Liam Cohen was putting into that offense. And besides, this is a guy that's bounced here, there, and everywhere over the past couple of years and has never been lauded as like, this great offensive mind or something along those lines. Like, obviously, to get that point, you got to be a good offensive coordinator, but he's never thought to be, like, special.
No, I was a little surprised Jacksonville sold their soul to get Liam Cohen.
Yeah, and that weird back and forth of wanting the job, not wanting the job.
Got rid of Trent Baalke,
fired
the
Trent
GM.
Baalke. So, they believe in him, which, hey, that's good, but we'll see.
And on this list, Jeff Howe puts Kellen Moore at number 5 in New Orleans. Again, I don't know what Kellen Moore is going to be. I know he grew into be. This year was far and away his best year as an offensive coordinator because he truly looked at his roster and looked at the players' skills and talents and the collection on offense, skill and talent, and he built the offense around the players and not around what he wanted to do, which was throw the ball everywhere.
I think Kellen Moore is going to be handicapped by a organization that's not willing to tear it down and start over, as they, hey, we think we can be the Eagles and go from, a mid to lower tier organization to being in the Super Bowl in a couple years. Good luck with that because he's got an uphill battle.
Yeah, The problem with the Saints is the Saints have decided to live in fantasy land. The fantasy world of, hey, we can compete again for a playoff spot / a championship when you can't. It's over. The window isn't just shut, Tyler. The window has been shut, and the house has been exploded.
When the Saints were having most of their success through the late 2000s and 2010s, who's their head coach?
Sean Payton.
Hall of Famer. Who was their quarterback?
Drew Brees.
Hall of Famer.
I guess he's not there anymore.
They got any of that right now? No.
They got Derek Carr, and they had Dennis Allen.
Well, there you go.
There you go. So, and the part of this is to the organization you go to, because again, Brian Schottenheimer's just a muppet in Dallas. Liam Cohen's going to an organization that it just feels, Jacksonville smells of dysfunction at all times. And so Liam Cohen's going to go there. I still don't think they've hired a GM. They've just moved some pieces around in the front office. So really, who is the GM? Who's really running that show there? And then you got a head coach with no coaching experience at all as a head coach. Zero.
Great start.
Yeah.
And do you have a phenomenal talent at quarterback? Yeah. Has he been injured a lot recently? Also, yeah. So you've got a banged up quarterback. I don't know what their cap situation is. I can't imagine that it's great.
They've got. I mean, they wouldn't spend some money the last couple of years. They're not New Orleans bad.
Yeah.
They're probably, I'm guessing, in the middle. I'll double check. But they're just kind of floundering.
I will say they are in a easier division for the most part, outside of Houston. Mm-hmm. Because Houston, obviously, a team that's made the playoffs the past couple of years. But, it does not take a lot to get past the Titans and the Colts right now. So at least you're not playing in the AFC West.
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
Because that's a division that's jacked. All right, over the cap real quick for Jacksonville. They have $32 million in cap space. It's okay. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's yeah.
Who's going to be the GM to facilitate those moves?
Exactly. Now maybe I've missed it. I haven't seen them hire anybody.
I haven't either.
Another one. God love you, Aaron Glenn. I like the start of how he decided to handle the Aaron Rodgers situation.
He took control.
Yep. Him and the new GM said, you know what, Aaron, here's the deal. You know what, Aaron, we're moving on without you. And obviously the owner's sons signed off because the owner's sons kind of tell the owner what to do. So good start. But again, Aaron Glenn's going up against a ton of dysfunction with the Jets, decades of it. Good luck, Aaron. You're going to need it.
Yeah, history's not on your side.
They have Pete Carroll and Ben Johnson tied at 2. The one thing I would change here, I would put Pete Carroll alone at number 2. If you want to put Vrabel at 1 and Carroll at 2 because maybe Carroll's age or something, I'm not going to argue it. I think Vrabel and Carroll are the 2 best hires because they've been there, done that.
Proven
They've
coaches.
been successful. Again, this Ben Johnson thing, I don't know what he's going to be. I know he can draw up fancy plays and run an offense, but can he be a leader and build a culture? I don't know.
And again, going back to the fact that he's got a quarterback, he's got weapons on offense, like he's got materials to work with as opposed to, again, what Kellen Moore has down in New Orleans.
Here's the problem. You went to the Bears.
You did.
Another place
like the Jets, another organization that's
dysfunction.
Has lost feet to shoot itself in.
Yeah.
They're shooting other people's feet now.
Right, and ready, and they run out of ammo constantly with all the bullets they put in their feet and others.
Pretty much.
So I'll give Ben Johnson the spot at 3 because he does have some talent to work with on the offensive side of the ball in Chicago. And they do have a few pieces on defense. They used to have really good defenses.
Yeah.
So Johnson at 3, but I would put Carroll and Vrabel are 1 and 2 to me, and I don't think it's even close.
And Carroll doesn't have a lot to work with out in Las Vegas, but again, he's a proven culture builder, a guy that's built organizations up to being Super Bowl champions, so you put your trust in him that he's going to be able to do that if Mark Davis can stay out of his way.
Yes. If Lloyd Christmas can just go stay at the diner and eat food and talk to the waitresses and let Pete Carroll, and I don't know what Tom Brady's going to be, we'll see. But number 1, again, we've seen the Patriots get out of the way and let GMs and coaches do their work. So Vrabel might be in the best spot of anybody.
Maybe.
I think they have a ton of cap space.
Cap space, got a good draft pick.
They got a terrible roster.
Yeah.
They've got to rebuild that roster. It's awful. All right, that's The Athletic, what Jeff Howe thinks of the coaching hires. Firehouse Sub Text the hour comes next. 803-404-6100 is the halftime show. David Dare is really the captain of this whole thing. We just kind of do what Dave says. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, we go till 3 here on The Game. Time to get our Firehouse Sub text of the hour at 803-404-6100 here on the Halftime Show. David Ayer, Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. What do you got there on the old text machine, bub?
This is in reference to what we talked about with field storming. Nameless Texter says it starts with the students, so ban the students for an increasing amount of games per offense. Find them too. They can find out who ran on the field. The technology exists, as we know. With the incident a couple years ago, was the Tennessee fans when they threw stuff on the field at Lane Kiffin, and apparently they were able to zero in and see who threw stuff. And they talked about doing that with the Texas fans that threw stuff on the field against Georgia, though I don't think anything became of it. It's one thing to do that for 20 or 30 people, but good luck doing that for 10,000, 5,000. I don't know how many people that field can hold. I see what you're saying. I don't know if they're willing to go to those links. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I get what the texter was. He's thinking.
Yeah,
they're thinking. I appreciate it. Sure.
It makes sense, but the process of going through that, and then it's like, okay, well, because you can track where somebody's sitting at, and well, what if you gave their tickets to somebody else that day, and so it wasn't you, and then they're finding you, and there's a whole mess of things here, and I'm sure plenty of people would lawyer up for that, and that's a whole another mess.
Yeah, again, I get trying to think of something because what we talked about earlier, but at the end of the day, nothing is going to be a foolproof plan. Nothing feels like it's going to be easy to.
And again, none of us want this to go away.
Right.
I love field storming, court storming, all that kind of stuff. It makes college sports special, but I can understand where Greg Byrne and Sankey and all these other guys are coming from in terms of trying to discourage it as much as possible. So when it does happen, it's a very rare thing that, in my opinion, it should usually be reserved for being the number one team in the country.
Yeah, it's got to be special. Like
very special.
Yeah, you beat, let's say you're somebody like Vanderbilt beating Alabama.
Who was number one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get that. You're Vanderbilt. You haven't beaten a number one team since 1794.
Yes.
Go at it. I understand that one. I do. But some of them where you beat the number 15 team in the country, and even if you're having a rough year, should you really storm the field for beating the number 15 team in the country?
And, for Carolina, it was a number 10 Texas A&M team. I think the apathy of having not beaten a ranked team in 2 years played a big part of that.
A&M was undefeated in the SEC.
A&M was undefeated in the SEC, controlling everything. At the beginning of the year against LSU, there were people that were piling up wanting to storm the field for that one had they won that game. And I was like, LSU's 15th. That's, at least A&M was in the top 10.
And they were
undefeated,
leading the SEC.
halfway through the season. That one, I was fine with that one. Again, it's been a couple years. That's fine. And the LSU thing, I wasn't necessarily on board with that one.
Let's be honest. You want to reach the point as a program where beating really good teams, you're so used to it, you don't storm the field.
You don't have to storm the field because you're like, oh, yeah, that's what we should do.
People are storming the field on you because you're so good.
You want to flip it and say, well, if they beat us, then they're going to storm the field where it becomes a special win. And that's, I think Beamer said that after the A&M game. Hey, it's great and special. We want to be the team that people want to storm the field against if they beat us. You know what I mean? So you want to, again, it's special for now, but you want to get to the point where winning those kind of games is just what you do. Yeah, it's just doing business. Another Saturday of doing business that we always do. Appreciate the text like always. Thank you very much. 803-404-6100 on the Firehouse Sub text line. Do not forget that we are rolling at Village Idiot tomorrow on Whaley as we celebrate the start of baseball season. Paul Maneri in his first version of South Carolina Gamecock baseball will be hitting the diamond at Founders against Sacred Heart. Again, we get our special halftime show underway. It's become a tradition. Noon at the Village Idiot. Tyler will be doing the show this year because Elijah's out sucking up for Valentine's Day like I am. I was there last year.
You were there with us? It was you and I and Jay. And it
was a whole mess of us.
There was a ton of us there last year. That's right. That's right. Because you came from Noon from Gamecock Central.
And Derek Scott thought I was Elijah.
Yeah, that was funny. And you were so nice, like you were like.
Well, so it didn't hit me until after the fact.
It was
because,
funny.
And I've done spots with folks over in Knoxville at Sports Animal, previewing basketball games and stuff. And what he said was, "Hey, I heard was talking to some of your friends in Knoxville, and I thought he was referencing that." And a few minutes later, I'm like, "Wait a minute, I think you thought that I was Elijah."
Right. So, hey, Derek will probably show up
that's all right.
too, and whoever.
I'll wear a
It'll be all
name
good.
tag this time. How about that?
You should. Hi, I'm Tyler.
Yeah, there we go. Which, I get it. We're
okay.
close in age. We sound similar. I understand it.
All you
But
sports talk guys sound alike.
I just thought it was really funny because
That
it
is
dawned on
funny.
me. I was like, wait a minute. I think he thought I was Elijah.
I forgot about that. And my car got hit that day. It was a fun day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was sitting right there when the phone flew out of your hand. And I thought to myself, I said, I bet he just got into an accident.
Was I on the phone with you at the time?
You were on the phone with me because you were running late and I had to start the show here.
Right. Because I was navigating the traffic was crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone with you saying, okay, you just started up and I'm going to be there. I could see Village Idiot.
And I heard the collision and I heard the phone fly out of your hand.
Yeah.
And I told Dave, I'm like, I think you just got in an accident.
I was just like, are you serious? And then I got there and you started the show and Jay had got there before me, I think. And
Yeah. Well, hopefully this should go smoother.
Yeah. And don't anybody out there. Well, you got your car hit already. You're done.
Yeah, you know.
All right. Halftime show. What's trending at 2 is next on the game. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Gamecock Traditions and Traditions Fine Jewelry. Again, we're doing our over-under contest with Gamecock Traditions. You just go to 1075thegame.com, click on the contest, pick the over, the under of the week. You get it right, you can win a Gamecock Traditions gift card. This week, Ethan Petrie, over-under, 1.5 home runs versus Sacred Heart. That's over the weekend for 3 games.
3-game series.
If you think that Ethan Petrie will hit over 1.5 home runs in the 3-game set, you pick the over. If you don't think he's going to reach 1.5 home runs in the 3-game set, you go under. It's that simple. Again, go to 1075thegame.com or to Gamecock Traditions website to get in on the contest. All righty. Last night, Groundhog Day at CLA. Another game where South Carolina took on a ranked opponent. It was tight at the end. Gamecocks had multiple opportunities to win. Couldn't get it done. 12 missed free throws did them in. Bad turnover at the worst possible time by Colin Murray Boyles did them in. Ole Miss, some guys who haven't been making these kind of shots all year, made shots. I mean, the shot by Brakefield where he's going to the lane, the shot clock's about to expire, and he throws this thing up and hits the backboard and goes in at the end. Elijah and I were watching the replay. And it was Davis. I'm sorry, it wasn't Brakefield, it was Davis. I don't think Davis even was looking up at the backboard. I think he just threw it up there with the shot clock. And
Again, in the first half, they couldn't miss.
No. And all that. Now, I thought that South Carolina, to be fair, only down 10 at the half, the way Ole Miss was shooting. I'm like, wow, you're only down 10. These dudes only missed 7 shots in the entire first half. I said, obviously, Ole Miss is going to go cold. If they don't, I mean, you're going to lose by 1 billion. But
I mean, there was a good back and forth in the first half for a little while. And again, like you said, 10 points. With how well Ole Miss shot, that's not a victory necessarily, but you did good to keep it that close. And obviously, when you were able to slow them down in the second half, you made the game out of it. But again, we get to those final couple minutes, and it's deja vu.
Yeah, here's Lamont Paris. 6 games in the SEC. You've had a chance to win at the end, and you're 0-6 in those games. You're 0 for the season in the conference. The question, Lamont Paris, is what do you say to your team at this point where you continually come up short at the end, don't execute, and you get beat, and now you are 0 for 11 in the SEC. What's the message at this point? Cut 2, Dave.
It's uncharted territory for me also. Particularly to have a team, I say this to our guys, I think they know this. I say this to our guys that, this stinks for me between now and I'll watch the game tonight, I'll watch it again in the morning, make the edits, and then at some point move forward to start preparing for the next game. And once I do that, I start watching the other team, I look at us, I look at what we do, I look at what they do well, and I come into practice ripping and roaring and very confident in our ability to win the game based on what my eyes see, nothing else. That continues to be what I do. Not so that I can get through this, because that's genuine belief in what our ability to win a game looks like each time. But yeah, so I keep making the golf analogy, and 18 holes in a golf round and 18 games in the conference, and we had a good drive. We put the ball in the fairway. We were green in regulation after our second shot. I had a long putt for birdie. Lagged it to 4 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet maybe, and weren't able to come through at a par. So it's I actually use that analogy with them. I'm sure some guys probably don't understand most of that, but I've used enough of them that probably do. But anyway, I feel for them. I let them know that, I'm in this with them, but I have less impact on how it goes than what they do.
You missed a lot of easy putts in your first 11 holes. And that quote at the end is, you heard him say they have a lot more influence on the end than I do. I get that, but that almost feels like it's, I'm doing everything I can to put them in a position to win. They're just not executing what I'm telling them to do. And Lamont at times has also said we got to coach better, we got to do this better and that better as coaches. I just feel like whether it's fair or not, whether it's right or not, when you're the leader, it's my fault. I just got to do better. I got to figure this thing out. Whatever I'm doing isn't working. Whatever we as a coaching staff is doing isn't working. We got to find a way to make this happen. Now, look, whether that's true or not doesn't even matter. Whether you're doing everything and these guys just aren't good enough, which could be the truth. You got to. It's like we talk about Roger Goodell all the time. Mm-hmm. You take the beating, right? And I just think, Lamont, you just got to say, look, this is on me. At the end of the day, this is on me. I was coach of the year last year, and this year this is on me because obviously I'm not doing something right.
And I feel like the vast majority of the time he does fall on the sword. He does, say, hey, we as coaches got to be better. We got to do this, got to do that. And, I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out things the players could certainly do better. I don't think it's a consistent thing with him of saying, well, it's all these guys' fault and I don't take any of the blame. So hearing something like that from him may surprise you a little bit, but I don't feel like it's something that's the overwhelming message that he says a lot.
I don't mind when he talks about criticizing the team. I got no mind. I have no problem with that. I would, if it's me, never point out a player or say their name. I would just say we didn't get an inbound pass in, or we missed some free throws, or on a key play we didn't execute the play the way we needed to, or whatever. I got no problem with him pointing out the criticisms of the team.
Right.
And really, for the most part, that's what he does. He never really puts a finger at a player. He never calls a guy out. I just feel like all the time you've just got to get up and say, look, eventually at the end of the day, it's on me. And it's like anything. If you're in a leadership position in any way, shape, or form, even if it's not on you, guess what?
It's on you.
It's on you. It just is. I mean, you get the accolades when you do well. You got to be the first to stand up and say, you know what? At the end of the day, this is my fault.
If you're the CEO of the company, anything that happens underneath your umbrella does ultimately, come back to you.
And I think with Lamont, I get the frustration. I mean, like he'll talk about they draw this up, they do that. We heard him say in timeouts. We told them, in a timeout, this, and this, and they just don't go out and do it. I mean, is there also is there a disconnect in the communication? Sometimes it feels like there is. Is it also the idea that maybe basketball wise, some teams have better basketball IQ than others. They just do. And that's not saying anybody's not smart. It's just, in the heat of the moment, when you're on the court, some people process and think better than others. They just do, right?
Yeah.
It's automatic. And you have to adjust to that from team to team. Because some teams are going to be, like last year's team, that was a high basketball IQ squad that Lamont had last year. I'm not saying this team doesn't have a good basketball IQ, but maybe they're just not at the level this team was last year. Maybe that's part of everything we're seeing. That again, part of it could be also you're asking guys to do things that's probably bigger than their role should be. And maybe because of that, they're not reacting the way they should on the court. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and no one misses their share of the blame. But at the end of the day, fair or not, it lays at the feet of your head coach. And I think Lamont's a good coach. I have not changed my opinion on Lamont Paris.
Right.
I think he's a good head coach. I think he's a good head coach who's had an awful year. And everything it seems like he's tried to do, Tyler, hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Pretty much at the end of the day.
Not much is going to change between now and the next 7 games.
Yeah, and I feel from his thing, he's going nuts because everything he tries to do, something happens. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it comes back to you because you're the dude in charge. All right, let's get to this one, Dave, real quick. Cut 3. Lamont talking about execution in the final couple of minutes by his basketball team.
Well, no, there's nothing that I sensed that way. I did when we came out of the timeout at like 3:37. I don't know that was the exact time, but it might have been the exact time on the clock. I did specifically address decisions that we needed to make from here on out. That this is a different, the whole other rest of the game, 36 minutes and 23 seconds or whatever it ended up being, it was irrelevant. It's about the decisions from here to the end of the game. So, you know, but other than that, I don't sense anything from the guys. You're just trying to eliminate any factors where a snafu could happen. You know, plays that involve a dribble handoff. They've been real aggressive on the dribble handoffs. I don't want to do that. They do something weird and the dribble handoff doesn't work. Now where are you at? Plays that involve, so all these things you're doing to eliminate or mitigate chances of something happening that makes the play do something different than what we had talked about in the timeout, particularly out of the timeout. That's really all it comes down to. So then there's only one thing, performance. That's it. You just have to perform. Guys got in the spots we had talked about. Everyone's where they need to be. You just have to perform. And I thought we did that. Excuse me. Got a little cough, but I thought we did that. And then we, you know, a couple of times we didn't make plays.
So, I mean, and there to the point we just talked about, Tyler, Lamont saying we look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do this, we can't do that. Now let's concentrate on what we can do, and let's go do it. And then they go out, and it doesn't happen.
Yep.
And that's the frustration of the coach, where they figured, okay, I've hit everything here, man. I've dotted every bleeping I, I've crossed every bleeping T, and we still don't go out and do the things we need to do to win the game.
And when you hear him analyze the final play, where, again, Conor Wills driving the basket, loses the handle, Zach Davis, and then grabs the ball and flings it to Jamari Thomas and misses him, and that's the turnover that ultimately ends the game there. The concept is good. His thought process on what was supposed to happen there was good. Again, it comes down to the execution of the guys out there not doing what they needed to do to make it happen. And
we're going to hear that coming up. And I also want to get to a couple calls who've been patiently holding. We're going to get to you at 803-404-6100 as we continue what's trending at 2. Obviously, a tough loss last night for the Gamecocks against Ole Miss. And it feels like you've got a coach who, again, from a coaching perspective, we're trying to do everything we think of to get this thing right, and it still isn't right. But at the end of the day, fair or not, it falls at the feet of the head coach. Even though he's trying to cover every base, right?
Right.
It's still not happening. So we'll come back, get to you on the phones on the Love Chevy phone line. Also, we'll jump in on Lamont Paris explaining the final play involving Colin Murray Boyles. It's coming up, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions on the halftime show on the game. Rolling what's trending at 2 here on the game. What's trending is a tough loss, another one, as the Gamecocks lose by 4 to Ole Miss last night. By the way, the number was 4.5.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody was sweating those free throws at the end.
You think? So South Carolina, again, losing a tough one at home to a ranked team. There's 6 games this year in the SEC that have come down right to the wire, 5 of them against ranked teams. Vandy's been ranked on and off. And South Carolina had an opportunity to win those 6, and they won none of them. So the frustration continues in a winless SEC season for the Gamecocks. We'll get to the comments of Lamont Paris postgame about the execution on that final play with Colin Murray Boyles. First, let's grab a couple calls, 803-404-6100. Let's start with our buddy Ray. Ray, you're on the halftime show in the game. Appreciate you holding, my friend. What's happening?
Hey, Terry, I tell you, man, when I hear those terms at the end of the day, man, the hair on the back of my neck stand up because I think my boss is talking right at me. Because when you hear that, it's all about accountability. It's like this is the serious stuff. But anyway, just getting back at it. I mean, I know you guys. I'm sure you played a hand or two of cards here and there, and sometimes that dealer can deal you these cards, and you look at them, and you try not to show emotion on your face, But damn, sometimes you get them cards, and you're like, I need to discard every damn one of them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm not saying that we need to discard everybody, but I really think that Coach Paris in this offseason, he's probably already started. I think he's got to conduct an independent audit, and he's got to be that independent auditor. And I think he's got to look at it through the lens of an accountant. I think he's got to take all the assets and all the liabilities, and unfortunately, I think we got more liabilities than we've got assets. And I think he's got to go through with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, everybody from the players, the coaching staff, the water boy, whoever does the team laundry, even the team doctor. I know that sounds crazy, but he's got to do a deep dive, and he's really got to make some damn tough, hard decisions that that most people aren't going to be comfortable making, including him, I'm sure. But that's why he gets paid the money he gets paid, because next year, I mean, he literally will probably be coaching for his life or for his job. But anyway, he's still my guy. I think he can get it done. But, boy, he's got some tough decisions to make this offseason.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Ray. Always good hearing from you, bud.
All right.
Thank you, pal. I mean, at the end of that, Ray, Ray's correct that you have a season like this, and last time I checked, the guy that hired you is no longer the athletic director.
Yes. We talked about the other week that, Lamont Paris apparently is meeting with Donati in season about next year's NIL and all that kind of stuff. And again, you got to prove yourself to this new guy, because again, he has no promises made to you or anything like that. And if he does not think that you were doing the job well enough, then he moves on from you. And that's not going to happen right now, but we're in this situation again next year. Definitely some conversations to have. And like Ray said, there's no option that should be off the table in this offseason when it comes to portal, when it comes to moves within, your own program of assistant coaches and your own personal philosophy. You know what I mean? Like, you may have to go out and find yourself a little bit before next year.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, you're coming off being coach of the year in the SEC, and then you have the bottom drop out of everything. And to go that far, to go from those extremes in one season. Now, 2 of your 3 years have not been very, very good. Year 1, everybody went whatever, we got it. And then year 2, Gamecocks stunned everyone with how good they were. In game 3, kind of stunning how bad they are. And like I said, you got a new AD. And Donati's going to basically, I feel like Donati's going to sit down and say, okay, what do we have to do to get back to where we were in year 2? You tell me. What do you think? Let's start there, Lamont. And how much of it is, more NIL money to bring to compete for higher quality players? Could that be a thing? Sure. What else can I do for you to help you get back to where you were in year 2? But if you have more of this in year 4, there won't be a year 5.
No, there won't.
Would be my guess.
Yeah, you're very much correct. And again, for a league that is as competitive as it is in the SEC, you don't want to fall behind anymore. And if you don't think this is going to work and there's no way to right the ship, then a move would be made. Again, we're getting very far ahead of ourselves because we're talking about something that's not until at the earliest next year. But he has the opportunity because, again, he knows what he did to make things work a year ago. How do you go out and try and replicate that this offseason through the portal, again, coaching staff, whatever it may be, to make sure that next year is better?
Right. I was grabbing another one, 803-446-100, Love Chevy phone line. I believe it says Washington has been holding on patiently. Appreciate your patience. You're on the halftime show on the game. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing okay. Good to hear from you. What's happening?
Well, I got a few things or whatsoever, and I called the morning show with Preston and Theo or whatsoever, but it's still weighing on me. And like the guy what just got off the phone or whatsoever, he talked about Lamont Paris got the right to ship and have a deep what you call concern the staff or whatsoever. Now I got three things. He got one big 7-footer. Still there?
Oh, we're here with you.
Go ahead.
We're here with you, my friend.
All right. He got one big 7-footer, and most of the games that I watched on the TV from Kentucky, North Carolina, stuff like that, you've got to have at least two bigs and with some weight on them. Now, I see what it is, Tim or whatsoever, that plays down low. Every time he gets down there, and I don't know how much weight he got on, but he must not have too much weight. But that's not the spot for him to be playing down there low or whatsoever, and they got no weight because they get their bigs and they just shove him out the way, and then he get frustrated, and then he turn around and make a silly foul right after he get pushed out the way.
I hear you. I hear you. They got to get more beefy in the paint, right?
Bigs, 7-footers. He got one. He needs to go out in the transporter or whatsoever and try to get him another big or whatsoever with some weight on him. Now, I don't know much about the guy. He don't play that much, the 7-footer.
Yeah, Bozeman
But
Verdon.
I think they have him.
Jordan Butler.
out
I'm sorry,
It's
Jordan Butler.
Yeah,
Jordan
Jordan
Butler,
Butler.
yes.
Butler.
Yeah.
They have him playing more out there where Colin Ball be playing out there. They don't play him down low that much. And he needs to be playing down low.
Yeah, you're right. No, I hear what you're saying, Washington. We appreciate you, man. We got to get ready to hit a break. Thank you very much for the call. Jordan Butler wants to shoot threes and then weak side block shots. Jordan Butler doesn't really want to mix it up down low.
Yeah.
That's just not who he is.
Again, the size is appealing, but he's got to have the game to back it up. And on the other side of things, it seems like Nick Pringle wants to play down low. He just doesn't quite have the build and physicality that you need. And he was more aggressive last night, which I did think was good. But he's still getting pushed around a little bit.
And Bozeman Verdon is a guy that doesn't have a ton of skill, but he has a lot of want to. If you could take BBV's want to and give it to Jordan Butler,
Sure.
then you might have something.
Yeah.
Jordan Butler doesn't have the want to go down there. See, to play down low and to be physical, you got to have a want to.
Yeah.
And Jordan Butler doesn't have the want to go down there. So my dad always said about smoking cigarettes, quitting smoking. Because my dad smoked just since he was like 10. You see his elementary school picture. He's got like he's got a lung dart hanging out of his mouth. My dad would look at me and go, boy, to quit smoking, you got to have the want to. I ain't got the want to.
He didn't want to.
I ain't got the want to. I don't want to.
I can quit anytime I want. I said anytime that I want.
And that's Jordan Butler. He's got no want to go mix it up.
Yeah.
And if you watch him down low, and even he's had a few good moments this year, and he can make a three, but a guy with that who's that tall on this team, you'd like for him to be able to go mix it up a bit down low on both ends of the court. Have a little post-up game to go with your three-point shot. To be able to go down there and, not just weak side block, but, really get in there and physically be some kind of enforcer in the paint. And our boy just don't, he don't got the want to go do that. But Washington, I know where you're saying, a guy that size, you would like to see more physicality down low than you get from Butler. And you're right with Pringle. Pringle's got a want to be running around the paint. Just physically, he gets knocked around.
Yep.
We saw it last night.
Yep.
He got knocked around a bit. All right, and that leads to him getting in foul trouble, too, by the way. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. I do want to get to this Lamont Paris sound before we get out of here about that final play. But we have the greatest day in the history of the world coming up next as well here on the Halftime Show on the Game. All right, we will get to the greatest day in the history of the world here in just a second. Interesting. Okay. All right. Before we get to the greatest day in the history of the world, though, I want to circle back on that cut we've been wanting to play from Lamont Paris about that final play with Colin Murray Boyles and the way Lamont breaks this down. That would be cut 4, Dave, about that final play with CMB.
So there were options in that play. It ended up being a screening situation for Colin. And if they don't handle that properly, he has options. First and foremost is to just go straight down to the rim and make it happen. But during that screening action, we moved Jamari over there intentionally so that if they both went to Colin, then plan B is then to reverse pivot and throw back to Jamari for a shot. Either way, we wanted a quick score, either way. And if it was a 2, it was a 2. Certainly if you attack aggressively, maybe you get an and 1. And if they don't handle it properly, you may just get a 3 out of it naturally, whether it's thrown back to Jamari or if the whole weak side collapses, then maybe to the opposite side, which ultimately is where he kind of tried to back the ball over to that, but he just lost the ball at some point during his attack, and that was, kind of that for that play.
And yeah, so you get to hear that play and the options off that play, and you listen to it and you're going, pretty good play. Mm-hmm. It just, again, there's execution involved here, and the execution didn't work, and you saw what happened. So to the point we've been talking about, eventually at the end of the day, the responsibility goes back to the head coach. Even if the head coach is doing everything in his power to make this thing work, if it's not working, eventually it comes back to you because the buck stops with you,
yes.
Fair or not.
Yes.
And we heard him break down that play, and we were going, makes sense.
And I know a lot of people look at that and say, you're down 3, why are you trying to get a layup? You're still going to have to score again. But again, you had the option there of the kick out to Jamari Thomas. And again, everybody was in position of where they needed to be. But like you said, on Conor Bull's attack, loses the handle, and Zach Davis did the only option he had was sling the ball, and as he's going out of bounds, and again, it just wasn't an accurate throw to Thomas.
Yeah. And plus, you're still at the point in time of the game where you can score quick and foul.
Yes.
Score quick and foul. You can lengthen the game and continue to score quick and foul. And by the way, it's not a very good three-point shooting team?
Ole Miss. So you would have taken your chance of, all right, making it 2, which would have made it 70-71. Foul them, they go down. Let's just say they make one of those shots, then, okay, boom, you got the ball back, chance to score with the layup.
And the other point is, when you talk about three-point shooting, South Carolina's not very good either.
Yep.
So, maybe the attack there is you get the 2, you foul. Hopefully Ole Miss will miss a free throw. And now you're down, now you've cut the margin down again a little bit more as you can go 2 and foul and 2 and foul a couple times. You don't have to take a 3 because you missed the 3, guess what?
Yeah, it's over.
So I get the idea of the 3 ties you, but if you're down 3, Boyle scores, you're down 1. They go 1 for 2 from the line, you're down 2. Even if they hit them both, you're still only down 3.
Again, good plan, execution, just not there.
Didn't work. All right, greatest day in the history of the world. On this day, 2 quick things, old school. Okay. On this day in 1937, an NFL team in Boston named the Redskins relocated to Washington. And now they're obviously the Commanders. So they started in Boston, moved to Washington in 1937 on this day. 1954, a dude named Frank Selvey, who played for Furman, scores 100 points in a college basketball game as Furman beats Newberry 149-95. Now, I don't know if that's a team Newberry or just a guy named Newberry.
Might be.
But Frank Selvey scores 100. That broke the record of 73 points, which was set by Temple's Bill McVie back in 1951. So Frank Selvey, now the record's 138 now, but that was the first dude to ever score 100 points in a college basketball game. Selvey, he was the first pick overall in the NBA draft. I think it was, again, I was reading this, 1954, by the Bullets. Was all NBA twice, played for the Lakers, Milwaukee, blah, blah, blah. So he had like a 10-year NBA career.
Yep.
But Selvey, first guy to score 100 points in a game for Furman.
Was there a video of this? Do we have it on recorded history?
Of course we don't.
So there's another guy with the 100-point game.
It's like
that
Will Chamberlain.
we still dispute.
It's not real. Why? Don't have video. 1975, Bobby Orr of the Boston Bruins gets an assist to give him 100 points in the season. First NHL player in history to score 100 points in 6 consecutive years. It was the last time Orr reached 100 points in a season. Injuries cut Bobby Orr's career short, but phenomenal defenseman. Julius Erving, this day in 1977, played in his first NBA All-Star game and was voted MVP.
Okay.
How about that? This day in 1995, UConn is voted number 1 by the Associated Press. And that joins the women's team at the top, both the men and the women, number 1 at the same time in 1995. First time 2 teams from one school on the men and women's side were both number 1 at the same time in the polls.
And they stayed there for a while.
Yeah. They're pretty good at basketball at UConn.
The men's team having a little bit of a rougher season, but
Yeah, and Danny Hurley's handling it very well.
as he does everything.
How about the thing he said to the ref when he says, I'm the best bleeping coach in America
in the
or whatever?
world or America
in the
or
world
whatever.
or whatever he said to him?
Hey, he's a humble guy.
Danny's had a year.
But doesn't that make sports better when you have someone we can all collectively hate?
Yeah, I
like
mean,
Danny Hurley.
The thing with Danny Hurley, again, like always, when you're winning back-to-back championships, wow, you're fiery. Wow, you're intense. Wow, you hold everybody accountable. Wow, you're this. Wow, you're that. When you're struggling, it's like, wow, you're kind of a jackass.
Yeah, what's wrong with this guy?
I mean, dude, you need like some kind of anger management?
Everybody forgives a winner.
Absolutely. No doubt. And on this day, in 2022, the Los Angeles Rams beat the Cincinnati Bengals 23-20 in the Super Bowl. The MVP of that game, Cooper Kupp, Rams wide receiver, now in the trading block.
I was going to say, soon to be former Rams wide receiver.
That's the NFL. I mean, Cooper Kupp for like a 3-year span was building phenomenal numbers. I mean, the year he had, I believe it was this season in 2022, would he catch 149 balls or something crazy? Then got hurt the following year, hadn't been the same player, making a lot of money, and the Rams want to move along and trade him. Yeah. I get it. But that's the NFL, right?
Oh, sure.
You're the Super Bowl MVP in 2022. You've stacked a few really good to great years. Then you get hurt. Then you're not the guy you used to be. Time to go. It's time to go. It's a very cold business when you are a hard cap sport. That's the NFL.
Yep.
That's why I always say about these guys, get whatever you can get when you can get it.
Save,
hold out to get it.
Invest. Whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the NFL is, again, not for long. And they have no problem booting you to the curb when it's time to boot you to the curb. That's why I always say, go get yours while you can get it. Because it's the only sport without guaranteed contracts. Or very few guaranteed contracts. Yep, that was the Joe Burrow Bengals who knocked off the Chiefs in Arrowhead. And that was a solid game. It wasn't like, we don't remember it as a great wow game, but it was close, 23-20. It felt like the Rams had control of that thing for the most part. But it was a close football game.
First team to win in their home stadium.
Yep.
With Super Bowl.
And really, was it their home stadium?
It was Tampa.
Tampa was first, yeah.
And they did it 2 years in a row. That's right.
And to be fair, Tampa was really, that was I mean, the Rams, most of the people in L.A. don't even know the Rams are there.
Where's next year's Super Bowl at?
Top of my head, I can't tell you.
It's not the Minneapolis one, is it?
I'm blanking on it. Look it up real quick.
Yeah.
Grab your phone. And while you're doing that, I'll say this. The Schroeder's Towing Roadshow will be at Village Idiot tomorrow as we open up the baseball season. Noon to 3:45 p.m. Special version of the halftime show. Jay Phillips and Tyler Head will get you ready. David Cloninger, Post and Curry will be there. Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central. Who knows who else might show up?
Levi's Stadium, 49ers.
There we go. So that will be tomorrow at noon. Of course, we get it going 3:45 pregame, 4 o'clock first pitch. Derek Scott, Stuart Lake on the call. Gamecocks and Sacred Heart as the Paul Maneri era gets underway. What do you like to call it?
The Monera.
The Monera starts tomorrow, and you can hear it right here on the Game in Columbia and our affiliate at 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. We'll wrap this sucker up. Firehouse Sub text the hour next, 803-404-6100. We'll do our handoff, sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine with the post-game show. All that's coming up. David Ayer, Tyler Head, Terry Ford, halftime show here on the Game. Now we get our Firehouse Sub text the hour in here and also do our little handoff. Playing the role of Jay Phillips will be Elijah Campbell, who just got taller and younger. Because you and Jay look so much alike.
Yeah, we pass as brothers, actually.
It's almost creepy and eerie, isn't it, Tyler?
I get confused all the time.
I can't help it. I'll be like, hey, Jay, I'm Elijah. Oh, my bad. Sorry. All right, what we got there on the old Firehouse sub text line, 803-404-6100?
Nameless texter says, excited for next year's incoming basketball recruiting class. Think they have potential to be special. Hope we can add enough pieces in the portal next year. Dubai Paris 5th year, because if we let him go, we may not be able to hold the incoming class together. That's the nature of the beast in the portal era.
I mean, look, this year stunk, obviously, but you're not running off your head coach over this year.
No.
I mean, the guy was SEC Coach of the Year last year.
Not here.
No.
Not here.
But you do have a new AD who probably wouldn't be as patient as Ray Tanner in Jeremiah Donati. Now, I think, again, he'll sit down with Lamont. What can I do to help you in year 4? But if you repeat this in year 4 with a different AD who didn't hire you, then you got trouble. Am I correct, my man?
Well, especially in a year where Missouri went 0-18 in the conference last year, went bananas in the transfer portal. They invested a lot of money in those players. It wasn't like they were getting players from SEMO, right? They got Mark Mitchell from Duke, Tony Perkins, the point guard at Iowa, who was one of the assist leaders in the Big Ten. As we know here, getting an assist leader in the Big Ten can help your offense pretty well.
Worked out pretty well last year, didn't it?
Yeah, it worked out pretty damn well. So they're going to have to really raid the portal this year or this offseason and completely reconstruct the roster, because you're going to have to be able to show that you can sustain some success. Now, you have a similar season like this next year. We are going to have a different conversation in February of 2026, but it's going to be a big offseason. I think a lot of that's going to have to involve spending when it comes to building that roster.
Well, Missouri is kind of unfortunately, the poster child of this era, right? Dennis Gates comes in his first year, wows everyone, goes to the NCAA tournament. They go in the portal in year 2, and it goes, and they go 0 for the SEC. And now this year, they're going back to the NCAA tournament.
Well, that's what I was going to say. How many times is the word Missouri going to get thrown around the building and us talking about this team going into next year?
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's the model you got to look at.
That's a blueprint.
And there's two different ways, too. I mean, we've had 2 teams since 2018 in the SEC go 0 for 18. That Missouri team that we alluded to, and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt fired Bryce Drew after that year, despite them going to the NCAA tournament the year before that. And if Matthew Fisher-Davis doesn't foul, thinking they were up 3 as opposed to it being a 2-point game. If he knew, if Matthew Fisher-Davis knew the score, they're in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Who knows what happens? But just a year removed from that, they go over and fire Bryce Drew. That was a non-negotiable. Well, then they made the wrong hire after that. They haven't been back to the tournament since, and nor have they been close, really, to getting back to the tournament since. So it took another bad hire to add like 4 more wasted years, and now they finally, have their guy. But that 0-18 year set them back significantly, and for Missouri, they bounced back the next year. You're going to have to be able to get closer to that Missouri side of it. So I think, if anything, Lamont has the Dennis Gates example to show that they can turn it around. Like, this year's not, a program death sentence like it was for Vanderbilt for about half a decade.
And the thing is, and Bryce Drew, how many years had Drew been at Vandy before the 0-18? I forget.
About 3.
Yeah, so he had been there a bit. And he didn't have that kind of year that Lamont had last year, right?
Oh, no.
He shocked the world, go to the NCAA tournament, win a ton of games, almost steal the SEC regular season title, all that stuff. So I just feel like last year also gained Lamont some extra time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, when you win 26 games, that's a program record.
Yeah, I mean, you gain extra time. And then impatience can hurt you. Knee-jerk reaction can hurt you. Look, Missouri, Dennis Gates came off a great year. Then they stunk. But he did have a great year, so you go, okay, Dennis, let's get it back together. Well, that's what will happen here.
The expectations here are not the highest compared to some other places in the SEC, because you just don't have the history of having all that much success. Again, we can count on one hand how many times they've been to and won in the tournament overall, and outside of that Final Four run in 2017, haven't really done much in the tournament altogether. So yeah, this isn't Duke, this isn't North Carolina. You get a little bit more of a leeway, but the added element of having a different AD in there does make this interesting, though I don't think he's going to have a quick trigger necessarily. No. But like Elijah said, if we're having the same conversation next February, it's going to get really uncomfortable.
Oh, it's a different conversation.
Yeah,
that becomes a different conversation, because that's You can't have this next year in any way, shape, or form.
By the way, the league's not going to get any easier.
No.
It's not getting younger either. No. Like, I understand the texter's point of you like this year's recruiting class, but you got to look at that roster, look at that class and say how many of those guys are helping you as an instant impact player year one. Mm-hmm. And if the number is less than 2, then you have, even if it is 2, you have to raid the portal. You have to get older because you look at every single team that's competing in the SEC right now. These are grown men who are almost at the point of being off their parents' insurance, right?
Well, and that was last year's team. They were in the top, 25% in experience in D1. Mm-hmm. They were a very old team, guys that have played a ton of basketball. Talk about Talon Cooper playing 8,000 games before he ever got here.
Mack was 30.
Exactly. There's a value to that you just can't replicate.
Coaches those players better, too.
Exactly.
His best teams at Wisconsin when he was an assistant. Older
veteran
teams. Older veteran teams. His team at Chattanooga that went to the tournament had a bunch of old dudes on those teams.
I'll give you an interesting team this year when you talk about diving into the portal and getting older. Look at what Pat Kelsey's done at Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
The top 7 players are all seniors out of the portal. 6 of the 7 are seniors that came out of the portal. Very old. It's one of the most experienced teams in America. And look at the turnaround at Louisville this year.
We're productive. Like Rain Smith, their only real reliable three-point shooter. Came along with them from Charleston. Chucky Hepburn was starting at Wisconsin, right? Mm-hmm. They took James Madison's leading scorer.
So you're telling me that Louisville spent some money in the portal?
They spent a bleep ton of money in the portal. Yes, absolutely.
They like basketball, Louisville?
They're kind of nuts over it.
Yeah.
You think they were starving for success a little bit?
A little bit. Exactly. You think Kelsey got the guarantee of they're going to open up the portal wallet?
I think he got whatever tops a guarantee is. Yes.
What do you got coming up?
Langston Moore is going to talk Super Bowl with us in the 3 o'clock hour. Brad Muller is going to talk some women's hoops in the 4.
Tyler